Hey, everybody, welcome to Tim's Vinyl Confessions. I'm Tim Derling, Matt Phillips with me here.
Hey, guys.
And on this episode, we've been talking about this for a long time. We thought, might as well do it now before too much more time goes by. We're going to talk about our favorite albums that have really come out in the last couple of years, that came out not only last year in 2022, but also in 2021. Now, we have been doing yearly wrap-up episodes. For me personally, there wasn't a lot in 2021 that I really was all that excited about. I think, Matt's got quite a few different things here to talk about. So I said, let's combine the 2 years and we'll do like basically a top 10 albums that came out in 2021 and 2022 combination. Just throw them all together, your favorite 10 albums of the last 24 months or whatever, and also some honorable mentions. So we're going to start with the honorable mentions, and Matt's got more honorables than I do. So take it away, Matt.
Thanks, Tim. So I actually just broke mine down into years. So for 2021, I have 5 honorable mentions. For 2022, I actually just ended up being another 5 as well. I won't talk about too much because we're really here to discuss our top 10 albums, but let me take it away here. So in 2021, my 5 favorite honorable mentions were, this is the Pretty Reckless with their latest album, Death by Rock and Roll. So I've pretty much followed this band since their huge album Going to Hell came out. And this is kind of a return to form for them. Another band, which is odd that I actually follow, Tim, this is a side project, so don't look too close here, but this is this is the End Machine's second album called Part 2. So this is essentially Dokken without Dokken's drummer, but Dokken's drummer's son is drumming for them, and Warrant's current singer, Robert Mason, on vocals. So that's the End Machine. Another one that just squeezed into my list, I had to mention this one because I actually picked up a couple of versions. Iron Maiden's latest album, Senjutsu, of course, was another large double disc edition. So I bought this one when it came out, and I waited and waited and waited, and finally ended up getting the really cool kind of hard book edition. I just buy these mostly for the artwork. They're very, very, very pretty. So anyway, that was Iron Maiden. And the last one I want to show you for 2021, we did a review episode of this with Will, and this is Alice Cooper's Detroit Story. So I have that on CD, and I did manage to find a vinyl copy of that as well. So that's my 2021 honorable mentions. Did you want me to do 2022 as well?
Yeah, go ahead.
Okay, sure. For 2022, man, I had a huge list. I really could have made almost a top 15 just for the year, but I'll go through these real quick. Probably they're not really ranked, but if I had to rank them, this would be the lowest one. And I haven't had a lot of time to digest this, but this is Megadeth's latest album, The Sick, the Dying, and the Dead. So I was excited to wait and try and find the lenticular cover version of this. Sometimes they'll have a really cool thing where it's like an insert inside the CD. I'm not sure why they did it with this one, but this is basically, they just gave you a card that has a lenticular bit, and it doesn't even fit in the CD. It's too big. So to store this, I actually have to, anyway, wasn't terribly impressed with that, but
That's a fail on the packaging part.
Yeah, now this one's going to surprise Will, and it surprised me a little bit. This is Ozzy's latest album, Patient Number 9. I actually kind of got into this one. I like it more than the previous one. I find he sounds a little bit less robotic on this. So I have been getting into an Ozzy album. Haven't been able to say that for quite a long time. The latest thing that I picked up is Devin Townsend's latest album, Lightwork. So I only have the 1-disc version of this. This didn't make my top 10 list of the last couple of years. I've only had like not even a week to digest it. I'm not sure if it would even make my list. It's a good album, but it's really chill. So that, and just have a few more here. Here's another one that we did a review episode on that I think the video was quite popular. This is Def Leppard's Diamond Star Halos. I would actually like to find this on vinyl, but you notice how the CD is like the black and white version. I'd like to get like that Target version, whatever has like the filled in color. So I'd really like to find that one. So this was actually a pretty good record. Just two more honorable mentions for 2022. Actually, just one more. I have it in both formats though. The Cults Under the Midnight Sun album. So this is one of those things where they don't even mention the band name or the band or the title on the packaging. It's very sparse. I kind of like it though, but I did find a vinyl copy of that. It's a really short album. I've heard some people complain about that. It's very similar to the last bunch of albums that they've put out, but they've added some synth and some orchestration and stuff. And when I want something really chill to listen to while I'm working away, this has been kind of my go-to album for the fall. So Tim, that's my big bunch of honorable mentions for the last couple of years.
Cool. I've just got three from the combined last 2 years. This first one, Will's going to be like, why? Why didn't this make your top 10? It's just a little bit of a difference. See, I really like this band. Will loves this band. And it's Greta Van Fleet.
Oh, yeah.
Battle at Garden's Gate. Here it is, honorable mention. I like it. We did a review episode of it. Actually, most of these have a review episode to go with them. But yeah, I like it. My fandom just isn't at Will's level, which is pretty intense. But it's deserving of a mention. Speaking of Will, he and I reviewed this album, Night Ranger, ATBPO, and the band played on. This came out 2011. Good, solid Night Ranger album. Not reinventing the wheel. Quality album. And one that Matt and I reviewed that just barely missed my top 10. So really, really like it. Steve Vai. And I won't say this is a return to form for him, but it's just a good, solid instrumental Steve Vai album, of course, with some extra tricks. He's got the Hydra guitar on here. He's got the knapsack. But yeah, again, this is a good one to put on while I'm working. I find that this is really, really, I get a lot done. So those are my honorables. So now I'll let Matt start off with his number 10.
Right on. Just very quickly. So in putting these together, it actually didn't take me too long to source all the different albums. A lot of these I really, really, really like, and still ones that came out in 2001, I'm still listening to. I will say the one that comes in at number one was unquestionably my favorite album of maybe the last 2 years. It came out at the end of 2021, but I kind of consider it to be a 2022 album. But anyway, so here's my top 10 list. So you want me to go, I'll do 10 and then you do your 10 and we go back and forth?
Yeah, so 10, 10, 9, 9, like that.
All right, great. My number 10 is the latest album from Joe Satriani. This is the Elephants of Mars. And here we have another one of, it's got Joe's name on the front of it, but there's no mention of the actual name of the album unless you look on the spine. He's had the same graphic artist for quite a while. I really liked this album. There's a few instrumental albums on my top 10 of the last couple of years. So that was Joe Satriani's The Elephant of Mars.
So my number 10 was one of Matt's honorables. We did do an episode on it, as he said. Def Leppard, Diamond Star Halos, seen here in its cassette form.
Yeah.
A lot of good songs on here. It's got a lot of songs. And, I talked about in the episode, some of them haven't grown on me yet. But I will say this, and I don't think I'm exaggerating. I think Take What You Want, the opening track on this album, my opinion, probably the best Def Leppard song since Promises. Like, it's just so good. But yeah, a good album. My number 10.
Right on, Tim. My number 9 is one that we just did a review episode of as of filming here, but this is Queensryche's Digital Noise Alliance, or DNA for short. This, for me, was kind of a return to form in that I didn't immediately love their previous album, The Verdict. This I felt had a bit more of the Empire style kind of songs, but it does have some of the heavier stuff. I do really like this record a lot. it beat out Joe Satriani and it made it into my top 10. So that was Queensryche's Digital Noise Alliance.
My number 9 is another album that came out second half of 2022. Martin Popoff was kind enough to join me for a review episode for this, for Sammy Hagar and the Circle, Crazy Times. And I'm actually pleasantly surprised at how much I continue to enjoy this album, because the first album that the Circle did, this first studio album, Space Between, was okay. I listened to it a few times. I'll put it on once in a while, but I find I can't go through it song by song and remember how the songs go. These ones, I remember these songs. I can get hooks from these songs in my head, which is the sign that there's memorable songs on them. I'd still like another Chicken Foot album because there is a difference. I don't know. It's probably a lot to do with Joe Satriani. That combination, him writing the riffs, Sammy writing the lyrics, but whatever it is, this is still a decent album. Sammy still sounds really, really good for 75 years old or 74 when he recorded this. So that is my number 9.
Right on, Tim. I was actually interested to see if that would make your list. I know Sammy's been really busy over the pandemic the last few years, and I think he put out another album as well.
Well, they did that Lockdown album.
Right, yeah, right on. My number 8 is another instrumental, Steve Vai. Tim just talked about this one. Steve Vai's and Violate, Teeth of the Hydra, that guitar itself. So, I mean, actually designing a guitar and then writing a theme song around it and kind of basing all the artwork around that guitar. That's a pretty cool concept. So this is the most I've listened to Steve Vai since probably Fire Garden came out. Really like that record.
Cool. So my number 8 came out in 2021. Latest album from Dream Theater, A View from the Top of the World. And this is their 5th album with Mike Mangini on drums. And there's actually, so that's half as many. So there's 10 studio albums with Mike Portnoy on drums. So they're halfway there with Mike Mangini. I did a review episode on this. I can't really add much to it. It's Dream Theater. You either like them or you don't. And this is just another fine example of, these kings of prog rock, and excellent Hugh Syme artwork as usual.
Nice. My number 7 is a solo artist. He was in a big band in the 90s. British. It's Liam Gallagher. So this is his latest album. He's been pretty busy over the pandemic too. He's put out a studio album and a bunch of live albums that were really good as well. But this is his latest studio album, Liam Gallagher's Come On, You Know. And there's Liam in amongst the lads. So I actually have that one on vinyl as well. This is a really cool album. He's essentially kind of reached out and got some co-writes on this album, but it's a little bit more experimental than the stuff he's normally been doing. So it's not straight up just kind of a waste of stuff. It's more similar if anyone's ever heard of the stuff he did with Beady Eye. But this one came out, I'm pretty sure, in the summertime. So I really listened to this one a lot with headphones on and just when I went for walks and stuff. So that's Liam Gallagher, my number 7.
My number 7 was an album that was a long time coming, and Mike Ladano and I did a review of this. And earlier in the year, we did an episode asking what is the delay with this album? Well, finally, it came out. It's Journey's latest, Freedom. Quite a good record. Like I said, we did a review episode, so there's not much to add to it. I do love this inner artwork. I like the inner artwork far better than I like the front, because to me, this looks very generic and like anybody could have done this. And that's one of the things I always liked about Journey was their stunning artwork. Since I ended up buying a used copy because the Amazon date kept getting pushed back, I actually got an open copy that's on this really cool orange vinyl, which is kind of cool. And really thick vinyl at that. So yeah.
Right on, Tim. My number 6 is another UK artist. These guys always put out music. I like every single thing they've ever done. This is the latest album from the Stereophonics. Uchiya. I wasn't immediately turned on by the artwork on this one, but the songs themselves, it's more of a, so the last album they did was really kind of mellow. Kelly Jones is their main songwriter. So it was really kind of an introspective thing. I didn't know at the time, but Kelly almost got out of the music industry, had a lot of personal stuff going on. But they've kind of bounced back and put out this. So I have it on vinyl. It's a double vinyl album. So that's Uchiya by the Stereophonics. The songs are Hanging on Your Hinges, Forever, Do You Feel My Love? Really, really good album by Kelly and the Boys.
Cool. So my number, I believe, what, number 6 are we on now?
Number 6.
Number 6. Matt already mentioned it. And actually, this is an album that kind of the first one to come out with me really as a fan paying attention. And we've talked about him a lot. Joe Satriani, Elephants of Mars. This is great.
Yeah. Wow.
Very, very memorable songs and some cool stuff on here. I don't know how he keeps coming up with the stuff, but it's really, really good. We did a review episode on this one as well. Cool packaging. It's got these cards that came with it. I really wish I had this one on vinyl, but there you go. Joe Satriani, awesome. Elephants of Mars.
All right, we're already into our top 5. This should please Will. Tim's already talked about this one briefly. This is Greta Van Fleet's latest album, The Battle at Garden's Gate. I did find a copy of this on vinyl as well. I haven't opened it yet, though. This one really surprised me. They could have done a whole album of Safari Song and Highway Tune and that sort of thing, but instead they're really starting to finally kind of find their own sound. I can't wait to see what they do next. But I can honestly say that's actually my favorite Greta Van Fleet album. My number 5, The Battle at Garden's Gate.
Awesome. So the one I'm going to mention at my number 5, Matt already mentioned, it's Queensryche Digital Noise Alliance. I've liked all of the Todd La Torre albums they've done. I think they've all been really, really strong albums, and this one is no exception. We reviewed this one extensively. I'm still really, really enjoying it. I do like the traces of melody that you hear on here on songs like Chapters and Realms and Forest, the ballad on here, and I'm still enjoying, we won't do any singing, but I'm still enjoying that cover of Rebel Yell. Great, yeah. Great album. And if anybody hasn't gotten into the Todd La Torre stuff that likes the classic Reich, you should at least, YouTube this, give it a listen.
Cool. Here's one that I don't think Tim owns this, but I kind of think he should. This is Billy Gibbons' Hardware. Then a solo album. I think this is the 3rd one he's done. I love this album. This was a summer album for me. It's got Matt Sorum on drums, and it just has. It's got like it's like ZZ Top, but he's kind of added a few little like sound effecty type songs, and the last song on here, Desert High, is sort of like you can just picture yourself out in the desert somewhere, lying, in the dark, and you can, just see the stars going over your head. And anyway, what I'm trying to get at is he really kind of sets the mood for this one, and I actually like this just as much as the last ZZ Top album, but that's my number 4, Billy Gibbons' Hardware.
Well, that actually might be the closest thing we're going to get to, ZZ Top albums now. But so the next one, this is an artist I've been a fan of for a long time, and this is the first time I've heard from him in a long time. And Jon Snow and I did a review of this. Aldo Nova.
Oh,
back after a long, long absence away. The Life and Times of Eddie Gage, a rock opera. This is a 10-song EP. He's calling it a preview. It's 10 songs though, so it's kind of a full album. And I really, really, really like this. It's basically autobiographical. I mean, Eddie Gage is him, basically talking about the ups and downs in his career, but musically it's melodic, it's heavy in places. He plays a multitude of instruments, and there's supposed to be a follow-up. I've been waiting on that. This wasn't the easiest thing to get a hold of either. So I wanted to give it a mention. Still listening to it quite a lot. The Life and Times of Eddie Gage, latest from Aldo Nova.
Right on. So we're almost finished. My number 3, I'm going to talk a little bit longer about. This artist might not be immediately familiar. But so this is Jason Bieler. My number 3 is Jason Bieler and the Baron. Okay, this might be the longest album title I own. It's Jason Bieler and the Baron von Bielski Orchestra, and the album is called Songs for the Apocalypse. That's a mouthful. So Jason Bieler came from the band Saigon Kick. So this is their first album, Saigon Kick. I got into them in high school. Then they did I think their most popular album, the second one, was The Lizard. It had Love Is on the Way, which I believe was like a #1 single on Billboard. Tim? Love
It
Is
was
on the
like, it was like 12 or 13, which considering the time,
Okay, yeah.
really, really successful. Yeah, surprising. Like one of the very last of, that sort of song hitting the charts.
Yeah, something interesting about Saigon Kick. So Matt Kramer was their lead singer, and then Jason Bieler was their guitarist, sort of backup singer. And their interaction was very similar. And before Alice in Chains, they had that kind of, their voices really blended together, and they kind of sound a little similar. So what happened, why I'm mentioning this, on their third album, while they were making this one, apparently there were some creative differences. So this is their third album, Water. There were some creative differences. Essentially, the bass player left. They got a new bass player. And Matt Kramer, the lead singer, left. And that left Jason Bieler to basically take over. And you'd think this would sound completely different, and it doesn't. It still just sounds like Saigon Kick. In fact, the first time I hear it, I didn't even realize that Matt Kramer wasn't there. So there's a lot of good tunes on this one. He covers Space Oddity, but the album I'm really here to talk about, of course, is I think he's done a lot of different projects, but this is kind of like his first like real full solo album. It's got some guest appearances. Devin Townsend is on this. He does a really wicked solo on the song Bring Out Your Dead, I believe. But man, so it's heavy, it's proggy, but it's also got those lush kind of Saigon Kick catchy vocals and stuff too. So I'd really like to find this one on vinyl before it gets sold out. I don't imagine a lot of these were pressed up. So that's my number 3.
That's what Mike Ladano refers to as the late tax. You don't buy it when it first comes out.
Yes.
Either you can't find it at all, or the price shoots way, way, way up. So my number 3 is an album. I remember Sarah and I were on vacation in PEI in 2021, and I first read about this, and I pre-ordered it right away because it's a band that I had only been into for a few years, and I thought they were done producing albums. And to my surprise, they did do a new album. It's quite a good one. And Jeff Witcher and I reviewed it. It is Yes and The Quest. So a really, really strong late period album, which was nice because the one that they did before this, I didn't like at all. I thought it was really weak and mellow and just not good at all. Some really, really strong songs on here. And yeah, it was a pleasant surprise. The first song, The Ice Bridge, I think is still probably the best one on here, but Leave Well Alone, Western Edge. A Living Island is a cool song. It's kind of, without being too literal, it's kind of a song about the pandemic, but you could listen to it years from now and not have it tied to that period. It would be like if somebody wrote a song about Y2K, but they weren't that specific, later generations might be like, that's a cool song. I wonder what that's about. So yeah, it's my number 3.
Right on. Only 2 left to go. And Tim, I have a suspicion that we might have the same top 2.
I think so too. We didn't talk about this previously, by the way, people. We didn't.
Yeah.
We did not reveal each other's lists.
Yeah.
Question is, what order?
Yeah. So for me, my number 1 was always my number 1, even though this number 2 by Skid Row, The Return of Skid Row, The Gang's All Here, is my second favorite album of the last few years. We did a really cool review episode of this one with Jax and Will. I mean, the title song, yeah, I pretty much like every song on here. There's some that I've said aren't my favorites, like October's song is starting to grow on me a little bit. Nowhere Fast is probably my least favorite song, but man, Hell or High Water, The Gang's All Here, Time Bomb, Resurrected, When the Lights Come On. I love this album, and I'm waiting for my vinyl copy to come in my local record store ordered in like the splatter vinyl for me, so I'd really like to get a copy of that. But yeah, Skid Row, The Gang's All Here is my number 2.
So in a way, this is kind of a spoiler. And I really had to think hard about this because both of these are just complete tens for me. But yeah, my number 2 is The Darkness and Motorheart. Matt and I reviewed this album. This came out in 2021. It's definitely my favorite album of 2021, without question. And this is the cassette is like the vinyl. It's only got 9 songs on it. One of my favorite songs is one of the bonus tracks called You Don't Have to Be Crazy About Me, But It Helps.
Yeah.
But the whole album is fantastic. I love the opener, Welcome to Glasgow. The whole power and the glory of love. Really, really like Speed of the Nighttime. It's The Darkness. They haven't done a bad album, and I hope that they do another one very soon. We're going to talk a little bit about what's to come, hopefully in 2023. But yes, for now, and I'm sure you all know it, that's number 1.
Yeah, my number 1 is The Darkness, Motorheart. So this did come out really late in 2021, but in my heart, for me, this one feels like a 2022 album because I didn't get the vinyl, and the CD came in really late, but I didn't get the vinyl until 2022. So I mostly listened to this one in 2022. I wasn't immediately thrilled with the singles when they released them on YouTube. Tim got this album, I found right away. I didn't get it, but after I gave it a few listens, it really started to click. And now this might be like my second or third favorite Darkness album. So that's my number 1, Motorheart.
So of course, that leaves me with my number 1 album of the last 2 years. It's Skid Row, The Gang's All Here. Man, talk about exceeding any and all expectations. I mean, when you love a band, you root for them, and sometimes they let you down. But this just, and I don't want to say this in a machine-like way, ticks all the boxes, but internally, it's like it's hitting everything that I would want to hear in a modern day Skid Row album. And it sounds like a classic Skid Row album. It sounds like the perfect meeting point between the first two. And again, Eric Gronwald just knocking it out of the park. There's nothing more I can add that I didn't say in our review episode, which was one of the most popular videos of 2022 for Tim's Vinyl Confession. So thanks everybody who took the time to watch that one. But yeah, a great album. It gives me hope for the future. So yeah, there it is. That's rock is not dead. I don't care what Gene says. And so as we look ahead into the coming year, Matt, what are some albums that you're particularly either they're coming out or you hope to see come out this year?
Oh boy. So a few bands that we know are working on records. Some of these have been a real long time coming. Right off the bat, Extreme. It's been a longer wait now for their next album than it was waiting for their last album, Sauvage de Rock. So they've been kind of going dark about this. I haven't really seen any posts about it. Conversely, I know Winger is also working on new material. They haven't put out a bad album ever, as far as I'm concerned. The first one
they have posted some studio footage, so we know they're working.
Yeah, exactly. They show John Roth, or they'll show Reb Beach ripping on some solos and stuff, and it sounds heavy. It sounds Winger. And again, I don't think they've ever put out a bad record. I'm interested to hear what the Avenged Sevenfold is going to do. They're sort of a newer band that they haven't really risen to like the heights of The Darkness or Greta Van Fleet for me, but I still buy most of their stuff when it comes out because their vocalist is really cool. I like their guitarist. Can't remember his name. That's how much I love the band. But Sinister Gates, I think. Yeah, Sinister Gates, I think is his name. But I know the Pretty Reckless have a new album coming out, but I think it's all like covers and acoustic stuff. And I know there's some more albums coming out, but it's I just can't remember.
So I know the Winery Dogs.
Have
got that together for a third album, and I probably wouldn't have even bothered, me and side projects, but um, and the first album is fine. It's really all about that second album, Hot Streak. Man, that's good. Like that was just, I think I saw the song Hot Streak and maybe one other, and I said, you know what, I'm gonna buy this. So yeah, they are working on a third album, and I hope it picks up where the last one left off. Yeah, definitely Winger. Yeah, they haven't done a bad album. You know, oddly enough, Honeymoon Suite were putting out videos and songs and seem to be working on stuff. And I think that they still are. They haven't put out anything since their Hands Up EP that came out at the very, very tail end of 2016. So I'd like to hear something new from them. I know Helix are putting out songs here and there, but I want a full album. I'd like to hear
Yes.
another full album. I'm not interested in buying an NFT. Sorry, Brian. But yeah, as far as other bands, there's a lot of bands that I pretty much sure aren't, they're kind of the what's the word I'm looking for? Heritage bands, they're kind of done making new music, although we've been surprised before. Yeah, I don't know. I mean, I'd like to be surprised. Like, when Def Leppard announced Diamond Star Halos, it seemed to come out of nowhere.
Yeah.
And there was the pre-order right away, unlike Journey, who stretched it out and was a painful gestation period. But yeah, I guess there's different ways of doing that. Extreme, yeah, I don't know what the holdup is with Extreme, and they've, it took me. I'm still never been too big on the majority of Waiting for the Punchline. It's such a dark album for them. There is good material on all of their albums. So Dodge to Rock, which came out 15 years ago, was a great album, was a nice surprise, and it was a great, great album. And the guys are just so capable, and it's like, come off the road for a month and hunker down and put the material out. I mean, they're perfectly capable of recording it themselves, but
There
yeah.
must be a little bit of perfectionism, I think, with because ironically, so I've been catching up on some older Extreme stuff and watching like the Drama Gods, and I forget that Nuno had a few other bands and Gary had some side projects. Sorry to cut you off there, Tim. But I found they were more prolific when they were broken apart, like doing all their different side projects and stuff, than they have been with Extreme. So
Yeah, so sometimes I think it might be a little bit like herding cats. I don't know.
yeah.
I am. You might notice that I did not have um, Alice Cooper Detroit Stories on my list.
Oh,
We did a review of it, and I liked it. It didn't hasn't uh, it didn't stick. But
yeah.
I'm really excited about the prospect of him doing another album with Desmond Child and the catchy songs that they could come up with there. I mean,
Yeah.
So there you go, guys. That's our take on what came out the past couple of years, and what we hope to see come out this year. What are you guys excited about? What did you like from the last couple of years? Comment below with them. And Matt, as always, been a pleasure sitting in, just talking music, and want to thank everyone out there for watching Tim's Vinyl Confessions.